There is one issue that all artists face when it comes to any part of their journey in the creative world where it is so extremely detrimental that they don't even realize it. That one is copying a reference way too much. What I mean by copying a reference way too much is that you're looking at the reference, but you're not necessarily learning from the reference. The way to learn from any reference when it comes to either Pinterest, Google, YouTube, any book collection or book collector, anything anatomy related, anything building related, everything and anything. It is not necessarily just copying it, it is breaking down and seeing how that actually works. This does not include any young artists or artists who are starting within the creative industry. They need to learn the hand-eye coordination, and by doing that, you need to copy. There's only one way of learning hand-eye coordination, and that is copying something from sight. The downside is if that carries on too far down the road and you are capable of drawing things with ease by looking at it, that is when you know you need to start learning. You need to start understanding how certain things work, how certain things move, and learning more than just what you see. I'm going to be showing you how to draw a torso in its basic shapes from primary, secondary to tertiary, and how I form something as simple as just random circles and lines, and how I flesh that out into a torso. So let's get to it.
And here we are at the drawing table again. Surprise, surprise. So all you're going to need is a notepad, of course, and a sketchbook, or a sketchbook rather, and a pencil as well as a rubber. And at the moment we're starting off with the head. Because the head's going to be facing more or less towards us, off to the side slightly, it's going to be more of a circle shape. Now I'm drawing the center line, so we have an idea on how the head is going to be facing, in which orientation. Now we're going to cut it off with the chin at the very bottom, and the chin is like a wedge shape, and then obviously the eye line, so it's going to be tilting up a little bit. But the chin is a bit of a wedge shape, so you want to, or the jawbone rather as well. So the jawbone ends more or less at the center of the side of the head, just under the ear, and we're rubbing that out just to make sure that we don't extend our lines too far. But the jawline ends about at the base of the ear. And now we've just drawn the cheekbone, the temple, as well as the eyebrow ridge. Now the cheekbone actually, if anything, drops a bit further out compared to the temple. Just a little bit, not by much. And now we're getting an idea on where the spine is going to rest. And the spine actually curves in where the neck is and curves out of where the rib cage is. And this gives us an idea on where it's going to rest. But the rib cage essentially is an egg shape. So all you got to do is make it wide at the bottom compared to the top. And there you have your rib cage. Now we're going to make another oval to just give us an idea on where that rib cage is going to face as well. Sort of like the center line of the face, but just at the rib cage. And now we're drawing the wings of the rib cage. Now I'm drawing the bottom of it as if we were seeing an actual skeleton, just to give you an idea on what's behind and what's in front. And this way, it keeps the sketch very volumetric, so you get a better idea on where to place things. And now I've just roughly placed where the shoulders are going to flow. Obviously, I think I'm planning on this shoulder it's going to be raised rather, so the shoulder can be slightly raised higher compared to the one that's resting further down. Clavicle bones are going to come into play, and they're always towards the top of the rib cage and in the center. And the neck muscles join to that clavicle bone in the center as well. Now, the trap muscles are obviously on the sides, above the collarbone rather. Can't speak. Above the collarbone, and they're a bit more defined, a bit more compressed, of course, especially on that left side there that we're drawing. And now I'm just getting an idea on where the arm's going to rest as it's going to be raised, and the other one's going to be resting. Now, the reason why I did that line at the bottom is to get an idea on where that elbow is. Believe it or not, the elbow more or less is the same distance from, well, actually, no, right, let's word it slightly differently. The elbow rests where the waist is, roughly. Now I've drawn a extra part of the spine. Now I've drawn the other part where it's going to join to the hip, rather. And I'm just getting an idea on where this hip is going to tilt. One side's always more compressed compared to the other side, and the other side's under tension. So I think the hip rather is going to be tilting towards. Right. Now I'm getting an idea on where the hip's going to rest. And the hip is wider at the top than it is at the bottom because of how the wings rest on the hip and how they splay out more so. And I'm getting an idea where the rest of the muscles for the six pack is going to rest. Now the wings of a hip is more like a figure eight sort of shape. We don't have to draw all of it, we just need to draw the parts that are going to be shown, but it is a figure eight basically. And the top of the peak of those eight circle, or the eight shape, is going to be the peak of the wings. Now we're drawing circles again to see where the legs are going to start. But I've moved on to the pectoral muscle, and now I'm starting to develop the deltoid muscle as well. Now the pectoral muscle sort of not links, but it joins very closely to the end of the base of the deltoid, but more particularly towards the beginning of where the bicep is going to start. I'm just getting an idea on where the muscle fibers are flowing on the pectoral muscle now. And I'm getting an idea on where it's going to stop and where the deltoid is going to start. Now we're drawing the bicep out, and you can see where that connection is going to lie now and rest, along with the tricep now at the back. So the tricep curves out first, and then it curves in, but the majority of it is curving in. And now we're doing the forearm muscles, which, believe it or not, start from quite high up actually, above the elbow, and they wrap around the forearm as they go down towards the thumb. Looks like I'm re-going over this because I'm thinking the person's a bit on the skinnier side. Now we're doing the other pectoral muscle. Now that one is going to be a bit more stretched because obviously the arm is raised. The deltoid muscle isn't going to be as visible compared to the right side, nor is the clavicle bone. The clavicle bone actually will be hidden because of the bicep pushing the deltoid up. And now we're getting an idea on where the latissimus muscle is going to be, known as the wing muscle. This one's a bit too wide, so I'm going to make it a bit more narrow. And the latissimus muscle, actually, believe it or not, goes up into the armpit, between the fat pad that rests just underneath the gland of the armpit and the bicep. And now we define the tricep again, which comes out on the other side of the fat pad. There are some parts of the body where there are fat pads in place to protect glands, and in a way, it kind of absorbs certain part of trauma if you get injured in those areas because they're a bit more delicate. Not only that, but it also helps for the joint to move. Now we've just done the forearm at the top as well, and now we're starting with the rib cage. Now the rib cage bones are the first ones that are visible, and then there are muscles that flow from the center, and they slowly go towards the side. Now we're drawing the other latissimus muscle and the love handle. I'm not sure the scientific name of the love handles, rather, but there is a name somewhere. I just have to find it at some point. And this is a really good example as well. You don't have to know every single bone, every single muscle scientifically, the name of them. You just need to know on how they appear, how they function, and where they rest. Now we're doing the six pack, and because the six pack at the top is more resting back, sort of, the back is in a bit of hyperextension. So the center ab muscles are going to be more pronounced, and they're going to overlap compared to the others. Now I'm just getting an idea on where the shading is going to be placed. We'll move on to that eventually towards the end of the video, but I'm just getting a bit of an idea at that point. And now we're drawing the other love handle of this side. Now because it's dipped a little bit because of how the hip's being placed, you'll find that it will dip as well with it. Now in hindsight, actually, I should have made the hip a little bit more tilted, but this is the whole point of studying anatomy. You're not going to get it perfect every single time. But also as well, if you don't get it right, you just make it work. You work with what you have. And then I just put in the quad muscles as well. Funnily enough, the certain muscles also wrap around from the inside of the thigh to the outside. Now I'm just getting a darker lead pencil and starting to define those shapes a bit more now. You see what I mean by where the ear rests, just underneath, or above rather, the jawbone, the mandible, I believe it's called. Now, a lot of the time when sketching all this, there were search lines. Search lines are basically lines where you kind of feather them and do it repeatedly to try and find the right shape that you're looking for, so that it doesn't have to be one clean line. If you're sketching and studying, do some search lines, try and figure out where things are going to rest. And sometimes you might find that what you thought was wrong is actually right. Plenty of times have I done search lines where my arm has mistakenly gone in a certain direction, but it's actually the correct one. And now we're just defining the rib cage a bit more and certain muscles. And the forearm at the top. To touch on another point, actually, the bicep and the tricep. Obviously, this is going to make sense when I say it, but to some people, it might not. You might not know actually. The bicep is made of two muscles, whereas the tricep is made of three, and how they're shaped are completely different. The tricep is more in like a horseshoe shape, whereas the bicep stretches along the entire length of the upper part of the arm. And there you go, just define the bottom part as well. And I'm just figuring out where the flow of the muscles are as well. To me, I've been practicing anatomy for many, many years, and I say obviously because in my perspective, I know what I'm doing, and not completely, but I have a good idea of what I'm doing. But sometimes it fails to pass me by that there are some people out there who, or artists rather, who genuinely don't know. And to me, it might be obvious, but to them, it's not. So it's just one of those things where, for me, it's one thing, where for another, it's something completely different. And in all fairness, if I do teach someone how to draw certain parts of the human anatomy, I always try and match their skill level. So I always try and match where they're at and I don't overcomplicate it. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just literally throwing down what I know completely. I'm not expecting everyone to understand everything that I say or do in this video, but I'm hoping that you'll learn something from it and it'll be a very valuable tool, a very valuable lesson. There are many things I still have yet to learn about the human anatomy. Small things. You just need to know about the main muscles, but eventually, as you learn more and more and more, you'll find that there are small details that you missed out and wouldn't have thought twice. But there you have it, I think. Just going over the ab muscles again, and some of the muscles and define areas of the rib cage. Again, not perfect, but this is just a study, and it's not supposed to be 100% perfect. And the entire time it took me to draw this was about half an hour, which is, at the moment, I'm at that level where I can't draw the human anatomy very quickly. I'm still depending on construction lines and shapes. But I'm getting there, slowly but surely. And there you have it. Just rubbing out some areas just to make sure some of the highlights come through. They can be a bit distracting sometimes, the construction lines. I'm just getting rid of them all. Most of them, the important areas at least. And after this should be done. Just rubbing off any fibers or any rubber dust. And there you have it. That is a very quick sketch on the torso of the human anatomy, male human anatomy. Surprisingly, I thought it was going to be just the torso, but it ended up being the majority of the body, about 3/4. But there you have it. That is from my perspective of things, how I know of human anatomy. Again, not perfect. I know that there are some mistakes in there, and that's the entire point of it. You study and you sketch, and then you make notes on how to improve, what could be different, what to change. And the more and more and more you do that, the more you learn your anatomy and the more you correct your mistakes. Like I said, this was just like a quick half an hour session where I just quickly did it. There you go. That's the end of this video. Looks like it. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something very valuable in this lesson. And I'll definitely be catching you on the next one. Take care of yourselves out there. See you all soon.